Things being what they are in the financial world today, this might not seem like the best time to talk about luxury real estate. On the other hand, perhaps it's the very best time. After all, the depression of the 30s saw all those sparkling Hollywood musicals with Fred and Ginger dancing down the staircases of grand hotels. So let's take a look at some residences that most of us will never come near to being able to afford. And we're doing so in the capable hands of Alexander V.G. Kraft, Chairman and CEO of Sotheby's International Realty France Monaco, and author of a new and beautifully illustrated book called Living in Luxury. And Alexander is on the phone now from Monaco. Alexander, welcome to By Design.
Yes, hello, Alan.
Hi. Your book begins with a foreword by Donald Trump in which he mentions that his own Palm Beach estate, or as he puts it, my magnificent Palm Beach estate, is featured in the book, and he adds that the property is listed at $125 million. Well, perhaps it's because I'm English, but I find that mention by him of money rather vulgar. Am I wrong? Is the value of property what all this is about?
No, what I try to do really in the book is present the broadest spectrum possible of properties, but a big price tag is something many people are interested about, and I think everybody loves to talk about real estate, what the house of the neighbor may cost today, be it a small flat somewhere in Australia or a big estate in Palm Beach. But I think there's so much more to luxury real estate. There are fascinating personalities behind, some very iconic markets. There are personal tragedies there, and of course there are great success stories.
Luxury real estate, it has quite a history, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you think about luxury real estate today, one tends to think about big villas on the Côte d'Azur that are bought by Russians. But if you really take a closer look, you really see, the very first parallels to today's luxury villas. One can certainly find at the old Romans, where they built their big impressive villas, where they hold social but also political functions. Again, something already there. Luxury real estate served to really demonstrate a certain social status. And then in the Renaissance again, you have the reappearance of beautiful estates that are becoming political centers where people meet, make politics, and gather really important crowds.
Well, I suppose Louis XIV's Palace of Versailles is a great example, not just of a luxurious building, but of a luxurious building whose functions were political. But let's look, moving into the present day, let's look at what makes a home a luxury home. You mentioned various factors, but a somewhat intangible factor that you do stress is image. What does image amount to?
Well, of course, as you say, image is a very intangible factor, but it is, especially for luxury real estate, a very important factor. Many people do acquire real estate as a means to demonstrate their social standing, as a means to advance their political or economic agenda. So for them it is quite important that the property they own really reflects what they are doing. And you have some markets, especially, who really reek of history and who reek of old money. So if you have the Côte d'Azur, for example, this has been a hotspot for the high society for more than 180 years now. The Côte d'Azur has been discovered in the early 19th century by the English nobility. Queen Victoria stayed many times there. Many titled heads from around the world followed, like the King of the Belgians. So many people who are buying a home on the Côte d'Azur are intrigued by that fact because it is seen as a very established old money destination, and of course people want to have a part of that history.
Different nations or different nationalities look for different things, don't they? Let's ask what different nations look for. What do the Americans look for?
Well, of course, the Americans, they really take for granted that you have a huge number of bedrooms and they all should have ensuite bathrooms. Of course, you have a huge kitchen with a sub-zero fridge. Of course, you have your swimming pool, you have air conditioning throughout, you have parking for at least 4 cars. Those are things that people really take for granted in the States. And for a luxury property not to have those things would be quite unthinkable. On the other hand, if you look at the English, they are really concerned about the history, the charm of a property. They're going to look at the architecture. They're going to look at the overall impression the property makes. They probably will not walk away from a property because it hasn't got a garage, but, they may fall in love with a property because it has beautiful Tudor architecture. Then if you move over to the Middle East, for example, there you really find a very traditional approach to luxury, which means precious materials are luxury. If you have a ton of marble and perhaps some golden water taps, that might swing the deal for a Middle Eastern buyer. And then finally, if you look at some more conservative nations like the Germans or the Swiss or some Scandinavians, for them, they're really looking for quality throughout. So, the Americans may look at the swimming pool, and the English might look at the architecture. The Middle Easterns might look at the materials. The Germans might look at the heating system. When they see a great brand there, they know, well, it's going to function for the next 50 years, and it's not going to cost me a fortune to replace. That might just be the thing for the German buyer.
Something I find interesting is the breaking down in the second half of the last century of the boundary between hotels and real estate. The American hotel man, Ian Schrager, has been a major player here. So what you get is a hotel with a high-end designer, Philippe Starck, say, or Gianni Versace, doing the interiors. And then you start to get apartments, which are sort of designer packages put together in pretty much the same way.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the strongest trends we have been seeing over the past years. You have apartment complexes that are serviced like a luxury hotel. So you have room service, you have maid, you have a bar, you have a spa, you have your own club basically. And as you mentioned, legendary people like Ian Schrager, who is a nightlife icon, or hoteliers like André Ballas. I mean, those are the people really who are on the forefront there. And finally, you have fashion designers like Armani, like Versace, coming also into the field and, putting their special touch to properties.
There are 20 properties in this book. I think my favourite is the downtown loft in Tribeca in New York. I'm already saving. The book, Living in Luxury, is published by Thames and Hudson. Details on our website at abc.net.au/rn/bydesign. I've been talking to the author, Alexander V.G. Kraft. Alexander, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Coming up soon on By Design, new kitchen technology. But next, trends and products.